Thank you. I'm excited to do my story. And let me start out with some background. I'm 65 years old. I've been involved in athletics and sports my entire life, and most recently just a recreational triathlete. And, for me, the thing was to be active, to be outside, and to stay healthy at the same time. So that was kind of my motivation. And, I would go to the doctor once a year, and I'd get a checkup, and, I thought I was on a pretty good course. And that was until... Can't quite see that, but there's a date up there. The date was June 3rd, 2018. This is a picture of me and my daughter at the Mission Viejo Triathlon, which is not too far from here. It was an Olympic distance triathlon. It was an event that I had done many times before. In fact, it was my first triathlon back in 1994. And so I thought I knew what to expect that day. Started out good. I had a good swim. I was on the bike and on my normal times. And then, on the bike, I thought I felt something and continued on. And then the run course was very hilly, and I started feeling sluggish, and I had to walk up some of the hills, and, I finished the race. I dragged myself in, continued to feel progressively a little bit worse, and I walked to the car, and I kind of hesitated at the car, and somebody said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, you better call somebody." And they called an ambulance, and the ambulance came, and I remember being in the ambulance, and then... in the ambulance, I had a heart attack. And they had to shock and revive me, and they took me to the hospital, and I had an operation, and they put 2 stents in. Is there a way this can be, I don't know what that's off of.
Let me see if I can get it.
Okay. Gotta mess with my slides. It's a PDF, not a PowerPoint. Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. After I didn't know what happened, and a couple hours later I woke up, and I never felt any pain, and never really anything. I woke up and I'm in the hospital. What happened? And the doctor explained. He said, "Well, during the race, some plaque broke off, and maybe a bigger chunk because of adrenaline, and caused a blockage." And I was able to go in there and see that you were 30% blocked, and I was able to clear that out. However, you have heart disease, and you had a heart attack, and therefore the protocol is that you need to take these medicines here today and every day for the rest of your life in order to ensure the best chance for health and longevity. So. Okay, so, there were other meetings with the doctors, obviously, and appointments and questions and some answers, but the burning question on my mind was, where did that come from? I thought I was doing pretty good. Why did I have this plaque? And that question really wasn't answered for me. So I don't know if it's the engineer in me or the critical thinker, but I just decided I was going to set on a course and try to figure it out, right? I guess that's what engineers do, right? We try to figure things out. And so also somewhere along the line, I remember that a good research starts with some data collection and some observations. So I made a couple of observations, and these were a couple of them. Logically, I think the diet, obviously. And one of the things I looked at is 25 years ago, in the early 90s, I had read this book called Fit for Life. It was a bestseller back then. And indeed, it was a guide for me for a long time. And one of the things that the book advocated was fruit in the morning. And that's what I had done. I'd get up, have a couple of pieces of fruit, mid-morning snack, some more, mid-afternoon snack. After a workout, grab a couple of bananas. And if I was hungry at bedtime, more fruit. So obviously I know now that's a lot of sugar and a red flag. Another red flag was, in the last 10 years, I started gaining extra weight, 10, 20 pounds. And, I don't know if you can see it, but I put that picture because I kind of started gaining some weight. And I said, wait a minute, I'm working out 10 hours a week. Well, I know I'm not eating that much. What is going on here with the calories, So that was another kind of just observation. And then kind of going on, I started to, decide I was going to do my research. And the first thing I started out with was with the drugs, because honestly, I had never really taken drugs my entire life, consistently, obviously. And I wasn't comfortable with it. On top of that, they weren't making me feel good. So I did kind of a deep dive. I started with the pharmaceutical websites and tried to read the studies and understand the studies that was behind the drugs, and they just weren't jiving for me. And I think what happened was that kind of led me to the YouTube platform, and and that's where I saw Dr. Westman's videos and the low carb community, and started reading about insulin and sugar, and oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. The weight and all the fruit I was eating, and but that doesn't have anything to do with heart disease, does it? So obviously I continued to listen to things and do some research, and there was a video by Dr. Mason at one of the low-carb conferences that talked about how sugar binds to the LDL proteins and messes up the receptacles, and it gets lost and it ends up as plaque in the artery. Oh, maybe this does kind of connect together. And indeed, over a period of time, of kind of going through things and listening, and there were several topics that kind of said the same things in different ways. The dots started connecting, and it's just started to make sense to me, and it was leading to, what you like is a good conclusion, and the conclusion to me was, that it was very likely that insulin was a major contributor to my heart disease, and if not, the main one, and that I was insulin resistant and had metabolic syndrome, and a good treatment for me would be to go on a ketogenic diet. So I did, and I have now for 9 months. I'm no longer on the drugs. I feel great. I'm back to doing all my same triathlon workouts. I'm on the same times, same distances, all those same things. In fact, a quick little story. I was on a long bike ride recently here, and we were at a rest stop, and people are pulling out their energy bars, and somebody said, "Ron, you don't have any. You want some?" And I said, "Oh, no, I'm not hungry." I said, "I'm fat adapted." And they looked at me kind of funny. And I knew what I was talking about, but so anyways, I just want to conclude just by saying how thankful I am, just like Jenny, for the information that was out there, and just so well presented, and just like today with scientific background that I could really understand and digest, and figure things out on my own a little bit, and very thankful, of course, and also to the doctors at the hospitals and the paramedics, and very grateful. And just one last kind of concluding thing. I think if I look back, I kind of look at, it's kind of a miracle, and I really look at it as, it was kind of God's plan. God has a plan, and He said to me, it's not quite time, but I really think He led me down this path. He led me down this path to figure this all out and to find this information, and and to help myself. So I'm very thankful for that, and that's my story. So.